place were an abundance of forest with trees that would reach up with their leaves into the sky. There were flowers that would grow wild in the meadows. There were houses that the fairies had built so beautifully shaped in their towns, with paths that would weave around the houses to connect them. The fairies and the elves lived harmoniously. The fairies would sing songs of praises to the sun as they woke. The fairies were the birds of flight, carrying the messages between the worlds beyond and this realm we're standing upon. And the elves would weave their magic through the trees with each step they took, leaving traces of their wonder and splendor behind. In this village, all was harmonious, but on one certain day of the year, when the sun was closest to the earth, when the days were longest, it marked a significant day. It was the day of the dragon wailing. On this day, every single year, the fairies and the elves would be in great distress. The noise! It will come again! What are we to do? And each of the fairies and the elves had their own ideas of what to be done. We'll just sing and we'll just ignore the noise. And elves said, well, maybe we should go on pilgrimage. Maybe we should go to that far off town and we won't have to hear that yelling sound. But there was one fairy who stood alone. Her name is Trinity Locket. A fairy pure at heart and so eager to stand in her truth. And she had an idea that set her apart from the other fairies and the elves. I'm going to do it, she said to her dearest friend Hawthorne. I'm going to find out the source of the noise. Hawthorne said, but Trinity, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. That noise is treacherous, and we don't even know what's making the noise. It's so far away, and even from here, Trinity, it's such a dreadful noise. I don't think it would be wise to go anywhere near it. And Trinity said, my dear Hawthorne, it takes one of courage to go to these far-off places. No other fairy has dared to enter into that noise. But I think we have what it takes. Would you like to come with me on a quest to find the sound? And Hawthorne, although petrified, he trusted Trinity, and he trusted that she would not lead him to madness. So, the sun set that evening, and the day to follow would be the day where the sun was closest to the earth, the day when this wailing sound would emerge. As they lay in bed, they stared up at the stars. With a slight flicker of a light in their hearts, knowing that what lay before them was a very, very magical feat. They woke as the sun rose above the horizon. The birds began to sing, and the bees began to bizz around on their business. And they packed themselves a bag, and they filled it with many different fairy trinkets, their wand. They filled it with many, many, many berries, and a little jug of water. And they tied it up their satchel, and off they flew, up, up, up into the sky. And they listened. There was no sound, and they kept flying along as the sun continued to rise up into the sky. And as they were flying, all of a sudden, they heard that dreadful screech, that piercing noise, raising into the sky and swirling round. It filled their whole bodies with discomfort and dread. What a terrible sound. What a dreadful idea to go closer to it. What absolute madness. But Trinity knew in her heart it was what was needed to be done. And she flew, and Hawthorne beside her, and they flew closer and closer to the sound, and the pain was excruciating. What on earth is that screech? And as they followed the trails of the sound, it became larger and larger and larger, and then, before they knew it, they found themselves up high, nestled on the edge of a cliff within a rocky mountain, at the opening of a cave. They could hear the dripping noise cascading from the tops of the cave, and they knew that they'd arrived. They could only see 1 meter into the cave before it was dark, and this noise echoed around the edges of the cave. "Here we are, Hawthorne," Trinity said. "We found it." Hawthorne said, "That noise though, Trinity, it's too much." "Hawthorne." Trinity took Hawthorne's hands and looked him in the eyes and said, "Hawthorne," she said, "Hawthorne, don't worry. Remember, we've got each other. Let's find out what that noise is so we can bring it to light." Although Hawthorne didn't think it was a great idea, he trusted Trinity. So in they went together, step by step, into the depths of the cave to follow that piercing noise. As if all of their body, every bone in their body was telling them not to. The flicker of the fire in their heart told them to go. And into the darkened cave they went. Now they couldn't see a thing, feeling the walls of the cave that was covered in a slimy, wet moss, the rugged edges under their feet, pieces of rock that had broken off. As they delved deeper into the cave, the noise increasing, the hearts beating and beating and beating, until before them they felt something that was moving around, and they touched it, and it flicked from side to side to side to side to side. They were jumping. Whoa, what on earth is this? Until they saw actually a dragon. They'd heard of the dragon. It wasn't a surprise, for the ancient ones had told them of the dragons, but no one, no fairy or elf in the land had ever come to see a dragon. "It's a dragon," Trinity said. Hawthorne was so scared. "Don't worry," she said. "Mr. Dragon, we're here to help you." "What can we do to help you? What's wrong?" The dragon squeaked, whacking his tail from side to side to side to side to side to side to side. "We're here to help you," Trinity said. The dragon was not controlled and absolutely wailing and raging and making noises and moving. And Trinity felt into that little flicker in her heart. She began to cry. She said, "My goodness, I'm so sorry for this pain that you're feeling. If only there was something I could do to help you." And in that moment, the dragon softened. With that magic, with that desire from Trinity, the dragon's wail softened, as if his heart was melting from Trinity's desire to help him. To a soft yelp. And then, in front of her, she felt a scratch on her foot, and she felt down, and she felt the dragon's foot, and she took it between her hands, and she stroked the foot, and beneath it, she felt said, I think this is what's hurting you so much. Maybe I can help you. Would you like me to take the rock out of your foot? And the dragon stayed quiet. So she decided, okay, I'm going to count to 3. And I'm going to pull it out of your foot. Are you ready? So then everybody, Trinity and Hawthorne, they counted. 1. We're going to count to 3. You ready? And we're going to pull the rock out of the foot. 1. 2. 3. Yeah! And the dragon made the most horrible screech. Everyone. And then the dragon, from a big, fiery, flaming dragon, poof, before they saw, in a big bang, everywhere over the walls splattered sploof, and they were covered in a slime, and before them, the dragon shrunk to a tiny, 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 tiny little dragon, and the dragon was so happy. The dragon crawled up to Trinity and curled up on her lap and started singing. Trinity knew that she'd done a good thing. She knew that by following that sound, by following the screech, the terrible noise, by entering the darkest part of herself, of the cave, she saw that the problem wasn't all that much of a problem at all. She saw that the painful parts, the deepest and darkest and terrible places, were actually just calling out for love. And with that desire, with a pure desire, a pure intention, an absolutely massive mountain can just turn into a molehill. She took the dragon and she hugged him. And she asked, I'm going out of the cave now. Would you like to stay here? The dragon curled up. Would you like to come with us? Okay. Well, we're going this way, so if you want to come. And they started walking. And the dragon followed behind them. And they were out into the light. And they saw the dragon. You're so beautiful. And then, with 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, they flew up into the sky. And the dragon, for the first time, could stretch his beautiful wings and feel the air beneath them. He was able to fly again for the first time. And the dragon came back to the village. And with him, he brought the magic of the dragon, the re-emergence of the dragon energy back to the kingdom of the fairies and the elves, to restore the magic of the chain that had been broken, ready to re-emerge the energy of the dragon in alliance with the fairy, the elf, and the pixie rose.
Beautiful.
Wow. That was brilliant.
That was a journey, yes.